Hmm. Hey, who have we got here? Looks like we got just a few right now. Let's see here. Marble Sky is here. Bryce 5646. Brayon Beard. If I'm butchering your names, it comes with the territory. Nico. Trayvon. Stan Slowinski. Any relation to the famous coach? Connor Brown. Hey, Connor. So why don't you guys all check in and let me know where you are? So like just type in where the city where you're watching the live stream, and we'll get started. This is going to be a short live stream today, by the way. Let me know where you are. You already know where I am, so you're at an advantage. Okay, is everybody too shy to post your city where you are? I don't have a lot to talk about today. Okay, here we go. Richmond, Virginia. Hey, Connor. I've been through Richmond, Virginia before, I think. Waukesha, Wisconsin. Boy, now there's a bowling area, if ever I've heard of one. So St. Louis. Hey, Nico. Well, we got some bowling areas represented here. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Is it cold there already? I'll bet. Plattsburgh, New York. Somebody in PA. Plainville, Illinois. Akron, Ohio. I've been to Akron, Ohio. I bowled at Riviera Lanes in Akron, Ohio, when we were up there covering a golf tournament back in the late 90s. Okay, well, look, I don't have a lot here to talk about. I just thought I would pop on here. Hey, Midland, Texas. Boy, that's talk about out in the middle of nowhere. I've been through Midland. That drive from El Paso to Fort Worth, I've made that trip a few times. Oh my God. It is cold, especially with that recent dusting of snow up in Minneapolis. I'm sure it is. We haven't had any snow here yet, but we did have a couple of hard freezes earlier this week. It was down into the 20s here, I think. But anyway, I just wanted to sign on here just for a few minutes and let you guys know. I just posted a short 30-second video to let everybody know that our next episode of Prodigy would be dropping this afternoon in less than an hour. At the top of the hour, it's 4:11 p.m. here in the Central Time Zone. And I am going to excuse myself from this live chat in time to put the video up. So, well, it's already up, but change its status from unlisted to public at 5 o'clock so that everybody can enjoy the Division III championship round from the October Kansas City Open points tournament. So this has been a really interesting time down here with the new bowling season starting in September, and I really haven't checked in with you guys in a while on a live stream, so I just thought I would come on here, and we've had a couple. Oh, look, somebody gave a thumbs down to this chat. All right, well, I'm sorry it's not meeting your approval, but these are not as interesting as the actual shows. But there is a new show coming in about 50 minutes, so sit tight. But anyway, with the new bowling season and getting to meet and try to get acquainted with a whole new group of bowlers here in the Kansas City area and connecting some of their faces with their parents' faces and getting to know some new people here. It's been a lot of fun, very interesting. I'm coaching over at Olathe Lanes East, where you've seen some of our shows originate. We'll be back at Olathe Lanes East in, when are we going back? I want to say March, maybe? I don't know. I'd have to look at the schedule, but we're going all over the place. We're going to be in Lawrence, Kansas on the 6th of November for the November points tournament. And we'll bring you a couple of shows from there. One will be Division I, of course. And then there'll be another division, probably either 2 or 4, since we've already done 5 and we did 3 in October. That's the show that you'll see in about 45 minutes. So it'll be one of those 2 divisions, I imagine. And then when January rolls around, it's going to be real interesting because here in Kansas, they have high school bowling. And all of the Kansas kids won't be able to bowl in the KCO. So it'll be left to the Missouri kids to have a free run at it. And I'm told it's possible that if there aren't enough Division I's, we might not do a Division I show that month. If there's not enough to have a quorum, they might combine Division I and Division II. It's been known to happen, although not often. So we'll see. But in any case, a bunch of interesting families that I had not met prior to moving up here, and they're starting to figure out what Prodigy is all about. And that's exciting for me and for the show, as new people are finding it, and they're enjoying it, I think. If I'm to believe some of the things they've told me, I'd like to think they've enjoyed it. You know, seeing your own kid on the show is pretty cool, especially when they do well. So the Division III show that you're going to see in about 45 minutes, there's a mix of boys and girls on the show. These, of course, are handicap matches, but nobody's getting that many pins, and in none of the matches is one player getting that many more pins than the other, so it's pretty close to scratch. But some really good bowlers, I think. And there's one who is a sibling of another bowler that you've already seen on Prodigy, so that's kind of interesting. And there's some really good coachable moments on the show, I think, that hopefully what I offered will help these bowlers and maybe even some of the viewers of the show who bowl and might have the same challenges in their own game. Let's see what some of you are having to say here, since I'm not just full of things to talk about. Burrito Cat says, I'd like to think I'm a pretty good bowler for being 15. I bowled a 222 starting just last year. How does one partake in featured bowling tournaments on the channel? Well, the featured bowling tournaments on our channel are the Kansas City Open. So you would either have to live in the Kansas City area or travel to the Kansas City area to enter the Kansas City Open. You can learn about how to do that by visiting their website at kansascityopen.com. They have entry forms there that you can fill out. Now, here's the deal. You will fall into one of 5 divisions. The Division 1 group is 200 average and above. Division 2 is 180 to 199. Division 3 is 160 to 179. That's the group we're featuring on the show that you'll see in about 40 minutes. Division 4 is, what would that be, 140 to 159. And then Division 5 is the group that's average 139 and below. I'm guessing if you've bowled a 222, you're probably not a Division 5. You might be a Division 3 or a 4, perhaps. You'll know where you fit. You enter the event. Well, they'll put you in the division you belong in based on your average. And then once you start bowling some games in the Kansas City Open, your KCO scores will then be used to determine which division you're in. But we show, or at least we attempt to show, Division 1 every month. And then we kind of skip around and cover the other divisions. We'll choose one of the other divisions each month. I have no idea ahead of time quite often which one it's going to be. But if you happen to be in the division that we're covering and you make the top 5, you'll be on the show, whether you want to be or not. So that's how that works. Connor Brown, I'm so excited for this show. I've really enjoyed the videos from Kansas City. You are awesome, Coach Randy. Well, no, Connor Brown, you are awesome. And I guess we should probably tell everyone we're not related. There's a lot of us Browns around. Nico gives me a thumbs up, and I appreciate it. Thanks. Oh, and is it Daniel, I guess? Hey, Randy, do you have any advice on the mental game? I can't to string a solid 3 games at or above my average 180. I have 1 high game and then have 2 below average games. Well, some of that's mental. A lot of it's mental, frankly. If you're averaging 180, then that means some of your games are above 180, some of your games are below 180. So that's part of it. You just got to understand that sometimes you bowl above your average, sometimes you bowl below it. But you always want to keep improving. And the fastest way to improve from an average like that is to eliminate 1 or 2 opens. And to do that, stay around the pocket, leave easier spares. Don't miss easy spares. When you start spraying the ball, there's no telling what you'll leave, and that makes making spares a lot harder. Well, that's good advice. It's sometimes easier said than done. So I would tell you that it helps to learn how to play the lanes. If you're not standing in the right part of the lane, if you're not aiming in the right part of the lane, to play the lanes properly, you're going to have a hard time. And part of that is just having to trial and error. I mean, it takes, I assume you're still pretty young. Maybe not. But if you're new to the game, it takes some experimentation to figure out how bowling lanes transition, how they change, and how to adjust to changing lane conditions. When you're bowling on fresh oil, when they've just run the lanes, you can play probably a little more direct, right between where the lane is kind of dry on the outside and real wet on the inside. You want to ride that oil line, maybe throw it out to the right a little bit so that it catches the drier part of the lane, reads friction, and comes back. But the more play there is on the lane and the more that oil gets picked up on people's bowling balls, then a track gets worn in and you have to move left. And the more play there is on the lanes, the farther left you have to play. If you've been watching the Kansas City Open bowl casts we've done here since moving up to Kansas City, you'll notice that most of the time the kids are playing way deep inside, playing like around the third or fourth arrow. Some of them even farther left than that. That's because they oil the lanes in the morning for the first squad of the tournament, and then they don't run them again. And so they're bowling on the burn. All that wear and tear on the outside of the lane means there's plenty of friction out there. They got to keep moving left to find some oil on the lane where they can get that ball to skid down the lane part of the way before it finds friction and starts to move left. And if you don't know how to read the lanes, and if you don't know how to play in the right part of the lane, they talk about it in football, how an efficient offense in football takes what the defense gives them. And in bowling, it's kind of similar. You have to take what the lane gives you. First of all, if you think that just changing balls takes the place of moving your feet and playing different parts of the lane, if there's parts of the lane that you're not comfortable playing, you need to get comfortable playing them, because a good bowler is going to know how to play out by the gutter. They're going to be able to play up the second arrow. They're going to be able to play inside, deep inside, and they're going to be just as effective in any of those parts of the lane. Part of that is the mental game. Part of it is a physical part of your game, being able to execute when it visually doesn't look comfortable to you. But playing the lanes properly, taking what the lane gives you, and not trying to overpower the lane and dictate to it where you want to play. You have to play the lane properly. If you play the lane properly, especially if you're on a house shot, you should have a few boards that you can miss either to the left or the right of where your target is at the arrow, and still have your ball find the pocket. So it's all part of the game. It takes practice, it takes experience, but just stay at it. Let's see, Purito Cat is back. I'd probably fall in the Division 3 category. Thanks for the information. I'm headed out. Have a great rest of your evening. You got a new subscription, and I'll definitely check out the content more. Oh, well, thanks, Purito Cat. Thank you much. So, okay, well, that's all the questions anybody has. I guess we can all go home now, huh? I will tell you that, let's see. The last show we released was the Division 1 show from Gladstone Bowl in Gladstone, Missouri. We taped 2 episodes there. And the second one, the Division 3 episode, is the one that drops now in just over a half hour. And I really just wanted to come on here and let everybody know that it's coming. I released a promo. You can find that on the channel as well. I put that out about, an hour ago or so. But I just felt since I had time and nothing to do, I would just sit here and do a quick little live stream and let everybody know that the show is coming so that we can kind of hit the ground running and get some views going right away as soon as the show goes live. So Anybody got any more questions? Because if not, it's time for Oreo and me to make a quick trip up to the dog park. Come here, girlfriend. Come here. Come here. Come here. Let everybody see you. Come here, baby. Come on. Come on. Oh, are you really going to fight me now? Hey. Say hello. It's nice to see. Oh, yes. There is a video up on YouTube. It's on, I think it's on the channel called Levis Nelson. Levis spelled like Levi's, the jeans, but his name is pronounced Levis Nelson. And he puts on a series of bowling tournaments in the Atlanta area for grown-ups called the Top Dog. And, hey, Josh. And the Top Dog tournament has been around for, 5, 6, maybe 8, I don't know, maybe 10 years. But he's been putting these tournaments on. I bowled in a few of them back when I was still bowling. I even won a couple of them. And so anyway, there's a video up right now with 3 old prodigy kids. They're not kids anymore, but Charlie Bostic, Annalise O'Brien, and our good friend Gilbert Kang. And I've only watched like the first half of it. And they bowled about like I remember them, although Charlie's game is a little different. He's gotten rid of a little loop that he had in his backswing. It looks much better now. He's going to be, well, we've always known that Charlie was going to be a force, but I think he's going to be even more of a force now. But, so anyway, that's up on YouTube. Might be fun to watch when you get a chance. Somebody posted it to our Facebook group. Did you know that Prodigy Bowlers Tour has a Facebook group? Huh? Did you? Well, if you go find it, just go on Facebook, type into the search bar Prodigy Bowlers Tour, and you'll be brought to a page where you can ask to join the group. Be sure to answer the screening questions, because if you don't, I'll just assume that you're a spam bot, and I'll decline the invitation or the request. But somebody posted the video there. And by the way, our Facebook group is kind of a good place to be anyway, just because you get some behind-the-scenes stuff about the show and things that I don't really talk about on the show, personal stuff. But yeah, it's kind of fun to see. So Josh Greenberg is here, ladies and gentlemen, the little tennis-playing phenom who, when he was bowling on Prodigy, I'm not sure if he was throwing the ball or if the ball was throwing him. He was still pretty little. Last time I saw him was at the Farewell Atlanta episode, and I hadn't seen him in almost 2 years then because of the pandemic. And Josh, you had grown a lot, like everybody else I saw there. It's good to see you here on the chat. And how's KC, you ask? KC is pretty much the way I remember it. It's grown. It's a little more like a big city now. And out where I live in Overland Park, Kansas, it's pretty bustling nowadays. But we got some really good bowling alleys here. Some really good bowlers, as I'm sure you have discerned from watching the show. And hopefully we'll meet some more of them. Let's see what we got. Nico, yeah, I posted for the reason that it was great to see some old faces all grown up. Boy, isn't it? It's just amazing seeing these kids. I'm determined. We didn't do it on this most recent show, but I'm going to start, doing some Zoom chats with some of the former Prodigy kids and recording them and putting them on the new Prodigy show just so that you can keep up with them, because I know that you'll want to know how they're doing, and I want to know how they're doing. And I kind of keep up with most of them through social media posts that either their parents make or they make. So Carter, is it Hone? I guess Hone, maybe Hahn. My bowling alley got new pins, and I heard they were a bit heavier. Is it any different from lighter pins when hitting the pocket? Yes, in fact, it is. Heavier pins are a little harder to knock down, which stands to reason. This is especially true on somewhat off hits. And it's also true that new pins tend to be a little harder to knock down than pins that have been, usually bowling pins, most bowling centers will order new pins about either once a year or once every other year, depending on their budget. The longer a pin stays in play, the more dented and beat up it gets. And that includes down at the base of the pin. Like where the pin comes to the bottom and then the bottom of it. And when they're brand new, that corner there, it's not sharp. It's never sharp. It's kind of rounded off. But the more it gets dented and beat up, the easier it is to topple the thing. So new pins tend to they tend to put up a little more resistance to, being knocked over. But yeah, not a lot, but it does make a difference. And heavier pins are definitely harder to knock down. I mean, you got to hit it a little more flush to carry a strike. So yeah, that's good. If you practice on heavy pins, that'll make you a better bowler. You won't get as many crazy off hits to strike. So you got to bowl better. I can tell you they're a lot harder to hit down for sure. Yeah, Carter, you're already answering your own question. Nico follows a few of our Prodigy kids on Instagram. Mr. Respect 69, thank you for the kind words, sir. Carter, I figured it out only because I wasn't getting as many messengers. Yeah, you won't. So when you're playing heavier pins, it stands to reason that if you can throw a heavier ball, I mean, don't throw a ball too heavy for you. I mean, that doesn't give you an advantage, but in fact, it might give you a disadvantage if it's too heavy for you to control. But throw as much weight at them as you can. But yeah, a heavier ball is definitely going to give you a little of an advantage over the heavier pins. And, maybe a little harder. Throw it a little harder. I mean, not so much that you're out of rhythm or, somebody's going to come back and say, well, Coach Randy said this, he's full of crap. Well, first of all, I am full of crap half the time, and I know that. But no, you don't want to go out there and try to, overextend yourself or throw the ball harder than you're used to throwing it. But, a more authoritative ball, a heavier ball, is going to tend to stand up a little better to the heavier pins. So that's all I'm saying. Ended up getting like 6 or 7 messengers. Greatest league night ever. Didn't score good, though. Well, sometimes you bowl well and you're not rewarded. That happens. It's part of the game. You talked about the mental game earlier. Part of the game is having to deal with that. I mean, the thing that I find with junior bowlers especially is the mental game is the last thing they learn. And it's just because it's hard to accept results that you think you should get better results. I mean, I wish I had $1 for every time I saw some kid, get PO'd because they thought they threw a good shot and they left a 10 pin. I mean, that's not going to stop. If you live to be 100 and you bowl the whole time, you're going to leave 10 pins. That's just the way the game is, and that's never going to stop. You will get a few interesting hits if you're bowling on twister pins. Don't even talk to me about twister pins. Those are not bowling pins. I'll never bowl at a bowling center that has twister pins. They sound like Tinker toys. I hate twister pins. And I would encourage anybody, if your bowling center uses twister pins, find another bowling center. Carter, since I have high revs and speed and my league team is sponsored, I get a free bowling ball. What a deal. Which is the new Phase 5, which is my first 16-pound ball. Well, aren't you a He-Man? Don't worry, Randy, 15 is good as well. Good, because if I get back into bowling, I'll probably drop down to 14. I haven't bowled much in the last couple of years. You know, and when I did bowl with 14, more than a few years ago, but, back in 2012 after I had my open heart surgery, I didn't really feel like I gave up much going down to 14 pounds. Maybe some swishers. The 5 didn't quite get the 7. And when I had to play deep inside, sometimes I had a hard time kicking out the corner pins. But that was it. Oh, look, it's Andy Roper. Hello, Randy. We miss you. I miss you, too. And Faith. And your lovely wife, Chloe. Oh. And Hope. And I miss all you guys. And Brent. Well, yeah. Every once in a while, just for the record. And, oh, by the way, this will apply to all you guys that are watching this who want to keep up on how the Prodigy kids are doing down in Atlanta. When they hold the GYBT, the Georgia Youth Bowlers Tour tournament, they use a service called Bowl Metrics, where they post the scoring live, and they stay archived. You can go look up the last, year's worth or however many GYBTs you want on bowlmetrics.com. That's BOWLMETRIX, like you make X's in bowling, bowlmetrics.com. And they put up the scoring, the live scoring, not frame by frame, but game by game. And you can see how the kids do in the GYBT. And I've been following these kids, and it's great to see. There's a lot of new names that I don't know, but the ones I know, it's always good to see them. And they're often up near the top of the leaderboard. Andy, you be careful out there on the road now, you hear? String pins are just as bad. Nico, you and I go to the same church, apparently. I agree. String pins, that's not bowling. Carter says, Randy, you're right, because I have such high standards for myself because I average 212, and I set myself so high, and if I bowl lower than that, if I get lower than 200, I get upset with myself. Well, here's the deal about that. Getting upset is not terrible. The pros get upset. I mean, I've known of pro bowlers to finish a block. They bowled so lousy, and they go into the paddock area where they keep their bowling balls and their, coat and everything that they bring into the bowling center that they don't need on the lanes. It's like a locker room in there. But they go in there and they're so peeved that they'll throw a bowling ball through the wall. I've seen it happen. But I tell you what, it doesn't do you any good. I mean, it's one thing to get upset. I mean, if you can use that as motivation to bowl better, great. If you just do it to get mad, I mean, most of the time when people get mad and they throw a hissy fit, it's really, first of all, it looks terrible. People don't like you more if they see you do that. I know because I've done it. And believe me, people didn't like me more. I didn't like me more after I did that. But it's really just an immature way of saying, I'm better than this and I want you to know it, since I can't seem to show you with the way I'm playing. So it's best to just suck it up, Buttercup, and get out there and bowl better. Show us that way. Let's see. Andy Roper says Travis Harding. That is, okay, so guys, Alana Harding, You've seen her on the show a few times and her sister. I have been working with Mike, that would be Mike Bonzik, who runs the GYBT, about doing live streaming going forward. Oh, that would be cool. So hopefully we'll be live streaming at Roswell on 11/6. That would be the same day we're filming the November points tournament here at the Kansas City Open in Lawrence, Kansas, where we'll be not too far from University of Kansas, KU, home of the Jayhawks, the national champion Jayhawks basketball team. Yeah, so the KCO and the GYBT are generally held on the same day, the first Sunday of each month. So good. I'm glad you and Travis are getting to do that. That's very cool. If they start live streaming that, I won't get to watch it because I'll be at the KCO, but I'm sure it'll get archived somewhere. Nico, I follow all the scores. Thanks to you for telling me where to find them. Well, good. Carter, I keep my head up every frame and every game. My friend, that's the way to do it. That's the way to be a class act. Owen says, I tend to get upset as well. I was never a good loser. And I'm not proud of it, but, it's just something you got to work on and just, be a good sport. I tell everybody I'm going to teach these kids good sportsmanship. There have been times I haven't really, I can't say I was ever really a bad sport. It's just, I don't like losing. I really, really don't like losing, especially when I throw a match away. But, it happens. Carter, right now I think I'm like the 4th or 5th in average with who I bowl with, which I'm proud of. I'm not sure what that means, but if you're 4th or 5th in the league, then that's pretty good. Nico, what happened to the Chiefs? We don't want to talk about that, do we, really? Hey, they lost to a good team. Buffalo's got a great team. And they're going to be a handful if we have to face them again in the postseason. And the Chiefs are going to have to play better than they did. They're going to have to play better to win tomorrow in San Francisco. The 49ers are no joke. Andy says that their live streams will be archived on the GYBT Facebook page and on YouTube. Well, see, I knew you guys would have thought this through. I guess I need to rejoin the GYBT Facebook group. Mike and I had a little bit of an argument a couple of years ago, and I got the way I get. And I was like, I'm not talking to this guy again. And then he's the one that called me out of the clear blue or sent me an email or something and put me in contact with the guy that runs a Kansas City Open here, which opened up the door for Prodigy to stay alive up here in Kansas City and show the Kansas City Open tournament. So, Mike is a better man than I am, and I thank him for doing that. That was really a great, very magnanimous thing for him to do, and I'm grateful. You can't argue with what Mike Bonzik has done for youth bowlers and their families in the Atlanta area and all over Georgia. I mean, he's a solid guy. So let's see. Overall averages with each individual bowler. Okay, I'm kind of not following this now. But look, I don't want to stay on here and bore you guys to death. I just wanted to sign on and give you a heads up that a new episode of Prodigy is dropping in about 15 minutes. It'll be the Kansas City Open October Points Tournament Division 3. The last episode that you saw that went up earlier in the month was the Kansas City Open October Points Tournament Division 1. And now you'll get to see Division 3 for the first time. Although I will point out, and I pointed out on the show, you'll see, that when you look at the standings for the entire division, the qualifying scores, there are a couple of names that didn't make the top 5 that you saw on our Division 5 show last month. A couple of bowlers who made the show last month got re-rated up, and now they went from Division 5 to Division 3, where they didn't make the stepladder this time, but one of them got pretty close. And so it's cool to see the kids find success, get better, move up. Sometimes they move down too if they don't bowl well, and they move down into a lower division. We had one or two make the show that you're going to see in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that were Division 2 before, but they fell down to Division 3. St. Louis Bass Bro, you're a legend. In my mind, maybe. It's nice of you to say, though. Yeah, Nico, please do keep posting when the great kids alumni of Prodigy do well in adult bowling, or even when they don't do well. If you see a video that has some of the Prodigy kids in it, I know that there'll be people who would love to see them. They always have the option not to watch if they don't want to, so just go ahead and post that stuff. Carter, why do different weight bowling balls get different cores in the ball? Well, that's a good question, actually, but I would assume, so for the most part, I can't speak for all brands, but I know that with Storm, which was the brand that I always threw, they had one core in the balls that were 14, 15, and 16 pounds, and if they were below 14, here comes the spam. Somebody get rid of this jackass. God. Why do they... I don't think the death penalty is too much to ask for these people. Honest to God. Tinder. Oh, jeez. We're going to be wrapping this up in a few minutes, so I'm not going to go to the trouble of blocking him now, but I'll block him when I get off from here. But anyway, a ball that's 13 and below, they put a different weight block in. And I have to assume it's because the ball's lighter, so the weight block that they've made for these heavier balls would just put too much of an imbalance on the lighter ball, and it would just wobble down the lane, and it just wouldn't perform like they want to see it. So they put a more generic kind of weight block in it, or a much lighter version. Let's see here. St. Louis Bass Pro. I just got done watching McKendry and Shannon O'Keefe. Yep. They can definitely bowl. Yeah, I know you guys can't kick these people out without being a moderator, and I would have to open another window, a browser window, and get into YouTube Studio and do all that here. Oh, look, it's Jonathan. Is it Mo? Tell me, is it Jonathan Mosback or Mossback? I don't know. Do you think maybe in Tennessee or Mississippi you'd ever consider doing a best of the East Central? Try to get Prodigy Georgia and Prodigy KC all TOC. Probably not, just because I'm not going to travel. If they want to come up here, we'd be happy to have them, but that would be fun. I'd love to have what I'm waiting for, what I want to see, and I'm just going to put this out there for you Atlanta Prodigy kids. Sooner or later, one of the Prodigy kids from Atlanta is going to come up here. They're going to enter the KCO, and I can name a handful. Mosbach, thank you. Well, I have butchered it every single time I've said it in the past. Well, congratulate me. That's almost a perfect score until now. And I'll bet I don't remember next time, but Mosbach. Okay, thank you. But I would like to see a Prodigy kid from Atlanta come up and bowl the Kansas City Open, make the step ladder, get on the show, and then show them how it's done. I'm not saying that they would win. The kids up here are pretty doggone good. But that would be a fun thing to have happen. And if they did come up, then we'd go have barbecue afterwards. That's the plan. Speaking of which, okay, now, Jonathan, you're writing in a foreign language, and I can't read it. But anyway, we had, remember the Farewell Atlanta episode, and we had little Melvin Perry III make the top 5. Actually, he made the 4th position. We only guaranteed 4 spots in the stepladder, and then Mazel Tov. Thank you. His mom came through town here recently. She works for the TSA as a trainer. And we went and had lunch and had barbecue. She came and saw our youth league and saw how we coach them up here. And then we went and had some barbecue. And she's just a delightful lady. I'm not surprised. She and her husband were just wonderful people that I got to meet at that Farewell Atlanta episode. And they obviously have a terrific young son in MP3, and it was great to see her. And if MP3 is watching this live stream, either live now or later, howdy. Maybe you'll be the one that comes up here one of these days and bowls a KCO. We'd love to see you. Do I support urethane? Yes. Why wouldn't I? You bowl what you got to use. If it's legal, use it. I'm not a kid. I'm 28, but have always watched. Well, thanks, St. Louis Bass Pro. Most of Prodigy's viewers are not kids. I know that comes as a surprise to some people, but St. Louis Bass Pro, you're right in the demographic where most of our viewers are. They're like, 18 to 34 in that group. And we've got a lot of older people like my age or a little younger that watch. Many of them parents of kids, of course, Can pins or ball ever break? Well, bowling balls break all the time, or they crack, and then they're no good once they've cracked, especially these reactive resin balls. And pins definitely break, absolutely, or crack, and they have to be replaced. Mac Counter from France. I always loved watching your shows. Cheers. Thank you. Have you ever threw a Venom shock? Nope. I heard the #1 most strongest reactive resin that has ever been made. Maybe yes, maybe no. When I got back into bowling in 2011, 2012, I settled pretty quickly on Storm equipment. I threw a couple of Roto-Grip balls, but everything I threw was Storm. If I'd stayed with it, if I hadn't blown out my ankle when I did, I probably would have eventually gotten my hands on a Purple Hammer. That's an incredible ball, but that's about the time that my playing days came to an end. I'm a Charles Bostic fan too. Well, who isn't? Nico's 27. Sean Rash's reaction on the Matt Russo versus Sean Rash match in February. Opinion? I don't think I saw it, so I don't really have an opinion. So could you get a $299.5? No. I have 2 Hammer Black Widow bowling balls and a Hammer urethane. Hammer makes great urethane balls. They were not the first to the party, but they were like the second in the world to make those balls. So it's 4:55, 4:56. It's time for me to sign off because I have to go on YouTube and flip the switch here in a few minutes and bring that show, change it from unlisted to public, so you can go watch the Division III finals at the Kansas City Open October Points Tournament that we filmed October 2nd at Gladstone Bowl, which is about 40 miles or so from me. It's a bit of a haul, but it was fun going up there. We have a little different camera position. That was a different kind of bowling center. You had the where the settee area usually sits, and then you step up 3 or 4 steps, and that's where they have the seats and tables for the bowlers to sit. So when they come off the lane, they step up as they come back to the camera. It's kind of weird looking, but anyway, I think I'm done here. Thank you guys for joining me for this live stream. We'll do another one here before too long. But take a break, go grab a drink out of the fridge, and come back to the computer and look for a Division III stepladder, which will go live on YouTube here in just 3 or 4 minutes, okay? Tip for you, when you upload videos, you can schedule them for when they go live. I know. I don't ever get around to stuff like that. Have fun, Randy Poo. Randy Poo? Thanks for all the great footage. Jonathan, I think you've been to the refrigerator one time too many. All right, we're done here. You guys have a great day. Thanks for staying with me. And go watch the show. See ya. Peace.